Hi everyone, welcome back to the series. So last time we covered verbs for I, you, he, she. Now let's cover the ones for we, you plural, and they. So last time we had the verbs говорить, знать, and жить. So let's continue these. So for говорить, we have these conjugations. Говорю, я говорю, ты говоришь, он, она говорит. There is also оно, but basically never really used because most animals have a gender, he or she. Оно can be used, but rarely, to be honest. Okay, so the conjugation for we, мы, simply just add an M to the end. So мы говорим, мы говорим. So you just add an M to the end. The conjugation for вы, you plural, is говорите. Вы говорите. So think about you plural, you singular. You plural is used in formal situations as well as being for multiple people. So if you're talking to multiple people or you're talking formally, you would use this. You wouldn't say, for example, извините, говоришь по-русски. You would say, извините, вы говорите по-русски. So it's just more formal. That's basically all. So it's if you're talking to multiple people or if you're being formal, you use this. And the last one is они говорят. This changes a bit for different conjugations. This one is я, the other one will be different. But for this conjugation type, it's говорят. So я говорю, ты говоришь, он, она говорит, мы говорим, вы говорите, они говорят. Okay, for the next verb type, знать. So before we had я знаю, ты знаешь, он, она знает. So similar to before, for мы, for we just add an M. So знаем, мы знаем. Мы говорим, мы знаем. Exactly the same basically for вы знаете, вы знаете. So you're basically just changing yeah or e. That's all you're changing for these different verb types. And for они, they, знают. So for they, for speak, talk, it's я говорят. Here it's you. Знают, знают. Они знают. Okay, so we have знаю, знаешь, знает, знаем, знаете, знают. Then the last one we had was the irregular verb жить, which we add a V there for some logic, I don't know why. This is я живу, ты живешь, он, она живет, мы, be exactly the same as before, just add an M. Живем, мы живем. Exactly the same for the вы, вы живете, вы живете. And then a bit different here, it's живут, они живут. I don't know if this is for, I believe it's just one of those verbs where you use an u. I'm not sure exactly why that is the case, but it's either you or u or it's ya. It just depends on the verb. I didn't really actually learn these rules myself. I just simply learnt each verb passively. I didn't really think about these rules, but I think there are rules. Okay, now we've done this, what we're going to do is I'm going to give you some about 10 of the most common Russian verbs, and we're going to practice conjugating them. Okay, the first common verb is быть, meaning to be. The weirdest thing about this verb is you don't conjugate it in the present tense. It just doesn't conjugate. I mean, it was conjugated a long time ago in Russian, but they don't conjugate it now, which is a very weird thing. It does make it a lot easier though for learners, because you don't need to use it. Say for example, we would say, I am a man. In Russian you would just say, я мужчина. There's no a, there's no am. So быть we don't conjugate. We conjugate it in the future and the past, but not in the present. So free verb, basically. You don't say it in the past tense. There is one exception to this. They do say jest, which is on, она, оно, есть. So they do say this. That is the only exception, the only time you'll use this. You just say jest in the third person. So that's all you really need to know is jest. Okay, next verb we have is играть, meaning to play. So this is at ending, so it will be the conjugations with аю, аешь, ает. So we go through this. Я играю, ты играешь, он играет, мы играем, вы играете, они играют. So it's just basically exactly the same as знать. You just put игр in the first, игр, that's it, at the start, and yeah, it's exactly the same. Next one, думать, думать, to think. This is basically exactly the same. There's basically no difference at all. Я думаю, ты думаешь, он, она думает, мы думаем, вы думаете, они думают. So it's basically the same. Okay, here's the first new irregular verb. But sometimes they just randomly add letters. I don't know why. This is любить. So only some of these are irregular, some of them are fine. This is to love. So this changes a bit. So я люблю, я люблю. For some reason they add an L. I don't know why. There's no L in the verb, normally in the infinitive, but they just add it. I don't know why. I believe the rest are the same though. I don't really think about this. So anyway, я люблю, ты любишь, он, она любит, мы любим, вы любите, они любят. So I think only the ya is the irregular form because they add an L there. I guess it's lubu, sounds a bit weird, I don't know why. I guess that's why they add an L, but I guess maybe slightly irregular. Next, very useful verb for a beginner, понимать, понимать, to understand. This is just exactly the same as знать, играть, exactly the same. So basically copy and paste. Я понимаю, ты понимаешь, он, она понимает, мы понимаем, вы понимаете, они понимают. It's exactly the same. You don't really have to learn anything new here. You just taking the endings from one, putting them on the other, and it's basically the same. This is very useful, of course, because you're a beginner. You could say, for example, извините, я не понимаю. Like, sorry, I don't understand. Or, вы понимаете меня? Do you understand me? So it's very useful, well, very important to understand, to know this verb. Okay, we have a very very irregular verb, mочь. Moch doesn't even end in a T. It's very different, to be honest. So yeah, this is very irregular. Trying to think of which. I don't actually know which type this is. I'll just do it. So for this we add a g, add a g for some reason, and then we add a j in other ones. Okay, so it goes я могу, ты можешь, он, она может, мы можем, вы можете, они могут. So sometimes it's a G, sometimes it's a J. I don't know why. It's not really, I don't think there is a rule, it's just an irregular verb that you just need to remember. I never really, I think when I learned verbs myself, I simply just read a lot and just translated and just absorbed it naturally. But anyway, and yet another irregular verb, sort of хотеть, to want, or another very useful verb. For some reason, basically, for some of these we add a ch instead of a t, but otherwise it's the same, basically. Yeah, okay, so the first one's a bit weird because the rest of them kind of have like the second, like the a ending, at ending, like ayu, aish, like that. They look like this, but they don't have an A, and the first one doesn't work that way. I don't know if that makes sense. The first one, хочу. Я хочу. So this is kind of, I don't know, it should kind of be different, but anyway. Я хочу. So they had a ch there for some reason, and the rest of them as well. So я хочу, ты хочешь, она хочет, мы хотим. I have no idea why it changes from a T to a ch, it's just irregular. Вы хотите, они хотят. So sometimes it's a ch, sometimes it's a T. You basically just have to learn these. There isn't really a rule. Okay, another really useful verb, делать. Делать. To do or to make. There is no difference in Russian at all. If you say, I'm making a cake, я делаю торт. If you say, what are you doing, что ты делаешь, there's no difference. Do and make, they're the same. Okay, so do is exactly the same as знать, играть is the same. So я делаю, ты делаешь, он, она делает, мы делаем, они делаете, вы делаете, они делают. So it's basically the same. Lots of these verbs you're just using the same conjugations, which does make it a lot easier, apart from the irregular verbs. Okay, next we have помнить, which is also a very important verb for beginners because it means to remember. So this is the eat ending, so it would be like говорю, говоришь, those endings. So this is я помню, ты помнишь, он, она помнит, мы помним, вы помните, они помнят. So this is very useful to know because you forget things when you're learning a new language. So you can say я не помню. Or ты помнишь? Да, я помню. Да, я помню. I remember. So useful verb. Okay, so the last one we have is давать, meaning to give, which is used in another situation, which I'll explain later. It's used quite a lot for another reason. But this is kind of irregular because they take away the V for some reason. But it's regular other than the fact that they take away the V. So instead of даваю, it's даю. Я даю. Ты даешь. They had a yo for some reason. I don't know if there is a rule at all, whether when you say yo, when you say yeah, I don't know. I think you have to learn it, which is a problem because Russian people don't write it. But anyway, what you should do is read with the yo inserted, if you can. Anyway, so я даю, ты даешь, он, она дает, мы даем, вы даете, они дают. Okay, that was just some verb practice. So you can write these down, try to remember them if you can. I find that's very difficult though. I tried this when I started to just write down different verbs, try to remember them. It can be difficult to do that. What I find is generally it's best to read and translate as much as possible, and eventually you just naturally absorb them. If you see, say for example, you see the verb, I don't know, Жить, играть, you see, oh, it means to play, and you see that 100 times over reading lots of things, you eventually remember it. That's what I find is the best thing to do. But you can write them down and try to remember them if you want. Anyway, if you have any questions, let me know. But I'll see you in the next episode.